आज अगेन हमारी गेस्ट बहुत ही स्पेशल हैं. जस्ट एक मिनट इफ वील वेट, शी जॉइन अस. I hope all of you are following Inspiring Heights and seeing what our journey is like. I hope you are enjoying these conversations. Hello to our YouTube fam also. Thank you so much for being a part of now what's 55 episodes of this amazing podcast. So thanks again for being a part of this really long journey.
Hello, hi.
Hi Devyani ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I mean, it's been a hectic day for me. I've been traveling, but this is something that I was looking forward to for a really long time. And thank you to Rare Reach, Anubhuti. I mean, it's such a wonderful endeavor, I must say. And I hope I'm audible.
You are perfectly audible.
That's
And
great.
I know that you've been traveling, so I am so grateful that you still took up the time to join us today.
It's my pleasure, really.
Very quickly, I'm just going to share an introduction to our community about Devyani ma'am. So she is someone who's basically broken any stereotype कि civil servants कैसे होने चाहिए. It's always about coming out of the mold, being a successful achiever, but at the same time having so many different facets to her personality. So she is an IRS officer. इससे पहले UPP CS exam में जो कि food safety का exam होता है, food safety officer का, she's secured the first rank. So it's a very rare combination that across so many different facets she's excelled. So it's a story of a lot of determination, of a lot of focus, and of course I think we see the success today, but behind that there have been so many ups and downs that she's also gone through. So much of hard work, many years of seeing the goods and the bads and saying no, I want to persist, I'm resilient, and I will achieve what my goal is. And it's not just about the fact that she's this amazing officer, civil servant. She's also someone who is a Kathak dancer. She is someone who enjoys music. She's someone who's done modeling. So, like just enjoying every facet of her personality. And today, what we're going to do is we're going to understand the woman behind that strong voice. And of course, the objective here is all of you who are joining, you also all have dreams. हम लोग सब अलग अलग जगह से आते हैं, तो आपके जो भी dreams हैं, I hope that आप देवयानी मैम से inspiration लें. Understand that how much of hard work has gone behind, how has she felt when she's gone through the lows of her journey, and then how she's picked herself up, where she finds the power to be herself truly, authentically. And Devyani ma'am, again, you are someone who represents a new generation of officers, where it's like, okay, I am an authoritarian, I'm someone who has a strong voice, but at the same time I have a strong personality, and I want to be authentic about that too. So thank you so much for representing that and being a part of our podcast today.
Thank you, Rare Reach. I just, before starting anything, I just want to, congratulate you for the efforts you do. It is such a rightly so rare platform where, you truly talk about inclusivity, and that is what really attracted me when we initially started talking. And it's important to create, platforms where women feel included. And I think Rare Reach is doing a fabulous job at that. And that's all I want to say at the moment. Before starting anything, thank you for making me a part of it.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That means a lot coming from you. Now, if we peel out the layers of your journey, starting right from how you grew up in Ghaziabad, your parents were also in the government services, and a very different kind of exposure. So how was that experience shaping how you wanted to get into the civil services? Were they inspiring you, or what was the environment around you like where you said, I want to be in the civil services at some point in my life?
I would say that, be it public service or be it discipline, this was part of our everyday conversation at home growing up. Both of them are retired now, but they have been brilliant officers in their own right. And so obviously my UPSC journey started because my mother also was selected in CSC. She did not pursue it. She was getting Pondicherry IPS back in 1980s. So but she was already selected as a probationary officer in State Bank of India. So she continued as a banker. She told me about the civil services when I was in 6th standard. So that is when I first heard of an exam like this, and then she told me how dynamic it is. It is such a great opportunity to be part of a bureaucratic system that is meant for public service. So all of those things, for the 12-year, 13-year-old sounded, very appealing. And over the years, as I grew up, when I used to visit my father, he was a scientist who got then recruited into the Ministry of Renewable Energy. So I used to see how the ministry setup is, how people work. The dynamism is there, the public interaction, learning every day. So basically, all in all, it was like what I was feeling, that this is something that I want to do. It got solidified over the years. Seeing my parents. Then as I grew up in college, then it becomes more. This conversation becomes more predominant, and that what we're going to do in the future. And civil services, such a popular topic amongst youth. So I guess over the time it got solidified. And but yes, I think one more thing that has added to this journey from my parents side is that they always encouraged me to go beyond academics. They always told me that go beyond classrooms and examination system, and step out of your comfort zone. Basically, they encouraged me to be part of various extracurricular activities when I was in school. And then when I was in college, they encouraged me to participate in students union elections. I was the founder of this fashion society called Poise. It also taught me confidence and team building and leadership. So basically, that created a skill set that actually gave me the boost to prepare for UPSC in a much more holistic manner, I would say. I became a more confident person, a confident woman. I felt like, yes, I can do it. I think that confidence came from my college and post grad years, when I was participating in extracurriculars. It really built my personality, I would say.
That is amazing. I think whatever we learn, a big part of that is always exposure at home.
Yeah.
And like your parents have always been supportive, inspiring, backing you through every facet. And you mentioned something very interesting, which is ki, even though I'm sure both of them were also very academically driven, they encouraged you to also explore other sides. So, as I was reading up about you, I got to know that, you've also been a trained Kathak dancer. You've been a singer. You started Poise in your college. So many forms of art. So, what was their motivation, and then what was your motivation to also explore arts? And does that shape how you are as an officer? How does that? And again, like as a child, either we are like there are very few people who are all rounders, right? And it's really hard being an all-rounder also. So how was that experience being an all-rounder? Did you balance it, or did you find this, come back to this later?
I would say that performing arts is an intrinsic part of my life. It never once my parents suggested it to be a distraction. They always consider that it can become an extension of a person. When we get into endeavors of any kind of performing arts, be it painting, dancing, modeling, anything. It really does build your personality overall. So to answer your question, how to how I balanced it, or I felt like it was never a distraction. It only added to everything that I was doing. This is what I feel. And one thing is that in your question you were saying that it is difficult for a lot of people to pursue. I feel like society does try to put us in boxes, these predetermined boxes, and they want us to stick to that. I think the best way forward is always to get out of those boxes, explore more. The more the exposure, the you'll become the truest version of yourself. So I think when we go have approach like that, it becomes easier to balance it. When we accept that we don't have to confine ourselves in boxes, we can do many things.
No, amazing. I think it takes also a lot of courage and a lot of confidence to get there. But it's really nice that you've always felt ki ha ye main hu. If there is a Devyani who is an officer, there's also a Devyani who is a singer, a dancer, and she really enjoys these sides. And this was one of the things that we were discussing also, ma'am, that you modeled a lot during college. You were someone who founded, the fashion society in your college. And when you became an IRS officer, at that point, I'd love to know your perspective. How did you feel about, okay, I've had this phase and I used to really enjoy modeling.
Yes.
But how would people see a woman who is an authoritarian, who's also a model? So did you feel like people would judge you for that? Did it stop you from sharing that side of yourself? But now you do, and very confidently so. So what took you to that transition?
So for me, there has not been a transition as such. I know there are these, perceptions or expectations for, an authority figure to be in a rigid mold. But, any human being, including bureaucrats, they should not be confined in a box. So from what I was saying earlier, personalities should thrive. And I have not felt this kind of any hesitation, at least in my surrounding, within me. And even if I have felt like there is a perception, I did not even actively try to break it. You just be yourself, and eventually people have to accept it.
Hmm.
That's how world is. You be your authentic self, and then the world will have to agree with you. So, and when we talk about appearances, how we transition and everything, it's a very unique and interesting topic. I really want to throw light on this. People often just confine it to vanity,
Hmm.
modeling and appearances and looks and everything. But appearances are more than vanity. It is a form of expression.
Hmm.
And you see it historically and culturally. Appearances are actually quite linked to power and identity. I'll give you a very good example of this. In World War II, red lipstick became a symbol of resilience in the United States. And back home, khadi was a movement altogether. Big powerful figures like Michelle Obama, they have used fashion as a form of representation. So when you just link it to vanity, I think it's a very myopic view. We should look at it in a broader perspective, that appearances or fashion or style or whatever you may call it is beyond this. It is it becomes a part of you, it becomes an identity, it also becomes a source of power also, I would say.
No, great. I think that is basically how is it that you're expressing yourself in different ways. And
Yes, truly, truly.
through our emotions, it could be through our expressions, it could be through what we wear, what makeup we do. Absolutely. Yep. And um,
Any
yeah, yeah. And I love the fact that you're saying that we shouldn't box ourselves into what the society thinks we should be boxed into. And I think that's exactly what the new age professional is, and definitely through you what the new age officer is also. And especially as women, I feel like we put this pressure on ourselves even more. ये पहन लिया तो कोई क्या सोचेगा, ऑफिस में ये पहन सकते हैं या नहीं, ज्यादा लिपस्टिक लगा लिया तो somebody will judge us, if I'm laughing too loudly then somebody will look at me differently. So at every phase, every action that we take, just because of our conditioning, we can sometimes question ourselves. But then
Yes.
here you are saying exactly that, you don't question yourself, like just be.
Yeah, just be your authentic version and just don't worry so much, I guess. Like I said previously, when you become your authentic version, people have to accept you. Sometimes begrudgingly, but but they'll have to. They won't have a choice otherwise.
Yep, yep. One of the other very interesting extensions of your association love, perhaps, for the performing arts was also during your foundational years while you were studying for becoming an IRS officer. You played Draupadi.
Yes.
Uh, what did that experience mean for you? Because she is such a powerful historical character and a very special woman character. So many learnings for us as women of power. So, what was that experience like for you?
The story goes back to college when I read this amazing book by Chitra Divakaruni, which is called The Palace of Illusions.
Hmm.
And, Poise also did a theme on Mahabharat, and we, won accolades all over, nationwide, in fact. So the thing that attracted me to the character of Draupadi, I think, when I read the book, it really basically changed my perspective on how I was defining her, probably.
Hmm.
From a victim, she, became a figure of resilience and courage and power. Sometimes you may think of her as a victim when in your head, but when you read Mahabharat carefully, when you read a book like Palace of Illusions, you realize that, she was a woman of agency. She was a woman of strength. And the best part is that she was not just a woman who was the part of the narrative, she also shaped the narrative. And I really resonate with that. And this is why, this entire topic attracted me. And of course, Draupadi and, the Cheer Haran, and how she overcame it. This has been a very, a subject very close to my heart. And which is why I still consider it one of the performances which is, has been closest to my heart.
Yeah, yeah. I think you mentioned that it's something that's super special for you, and I really, I think it's very interesting for me that you're saying that we need to look at her differently, not as a victim, but as someone who had agency, and I'm sure after that a lot of change was brought about just in how society works, for women going through certain experiences as well.
Yes, yes. She is definitely she's a symbol of power and courage and resilience. There's no doubt about that. And whoever reads Mahabharata, whoever reads Palace of Illusions would they would even have the same kind of thought process.
Lovely. And you mentioned that you expressed her um, her story through fashion, at Poise.
Yes.
I think fashion has been a very big part of, I feel as though it's been a very big part of your self expression also. We were looking through all of your wedding pictures, which were beautiful. And I think a lot of thought clearly went into every piece that you'd selected, a lot of very select designers that you worked with for your wedding, and then also setting up Poise. So clearly, fashion is seems to be very important to you in terms of self expression. So would you agree? How important is fashion for you? And how is it that today, that you are a respected officer, how is that a part of your day to day or your special occasions in this chapter of your life?
You have rightly observed it's been such an intrinsic part of my life. And, style is something that is, I guess, important in a way to everyone, probably a little or more. But, if you really think about it, what you wear, it literally is one of the first decisions you take in the day. As soon as you get up, what you choose to wear literally sets the tone for the day. So, it is part of all our lives. Some of us realize it, some of us don't. There's no hard and fast rule. Nobody has to follow a particular theme, I think the core idea for me or for anyone who's following any kind of style or fashion should be that it should reflect who you truly are and where you are. Of course, you should dress according to the occasion. So when you are just representing your authentic self, I think that is what style is. So yeah, it has been an important part of me. And from college years, when I was more into western wear, to becoming an officer, now I've embraced saris and I love it. So it changes from time to time as you progress in life, and in different situations, your style will change, but the core idea should remain the same. It should truly reflect who you are as a person.
And is there a particular weave of sari that you are super fond of right now?
Okay, so I love all kinds of weaves. I mean, India has so much to offer, from ikat to patola to everything. Block prints and tie and dye. And recently, I am, every week, my love for one overpowers the other. And I'm like, today I want to wear tie and dye, or someday I'm like, I just want to go for mulberry silk, and or some of the days it is tussar. So I mean, there is so much variety. It will be, it will be bad of me to choose one. Every style deserves justice, and with the right weather and with the right occasion, there's an opportunity for one to wear anything and everything. And that's the beauty of Indian sarees, I guess.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think perfect for any and every occasion, and yet you can just say for this occasion, I feel like this is the best sari. So it's
Yes.
just
So it is so hot right now, and I feel like right now I'm biased towards Leheria. Like probably next week you'll ask me, my answer would have changed, but this is how it is. I mean, there is so much variety. Why should you choose one?
why should you choose one? Absolutely. And I think the beauty there also is that now there is so much of conversation about preserving our heritage in terms of all of these different weaves, and the story of Bharat going global, the
Yeah.
beauty of Bharat products going global, more and more representation. I think now it's also about understanding that India is such a diverse country. There are so many of us who are so different from each other, and yet we have so many commonalities, so many similarities.
Yeah.
So, on this chapter of India becoming more and more inclusive, on this chapter of more representation, so many brands are coming up that are building in these small spaces कि हमें इस state के लिए बनाना है, या हमें इस sect के लिए बनाना है, या हमें इस consumer के लिए बनाना है. And I think Rarich is also one example of that. So for all of us brands that are coming up and building for different aspects of India, what would your vision be, or what would your expectation be कि हम कैसे न्यू एज इंडिया को represent कर सकते हैं और inclusive बना सकते हैं?
I'll give you one example. And so the idea is to be more inclusive, right? And how to be inclusive is to not have any barriers. The answer is quite simple. One example, again, going back to Poise, it is such a favorite topic of mine. Being a fashion society and, selecting models, we never had a height barrier. Never, ever. All were welcome. And the doors were open for all. I mean, for a brand like you, when I first, talked to you and got to know what Rare Reach is all about, the best way to build a brand is to create a platform for your women audience, where they can be, valued and seen and heard and, feel represented basically. And you're already on the right path. I feel you're already doing it. So I think, the all the best for the journey, because I think you have cracked the code. You have opened the doors. You're breaking down the glass ceiling. You're breaking down all the barriers out there. Once you open the doors and welcome everyone, you already create an inclusive brand, I feel.
No, thank you for those kind words, ma'am. Absolutely. I think today it's just that आई फील किसी को भी ऐसा नहीं लगना चाहिए कि हम हमें कोई नहीं समझ रहा है. I think
Yes.
I mean there's just so much innovation that whether that is neuro abilities or whether that is fashion or whether that is food, uh, everybody should just feel included in these stories. So again, thank you for saying that, and that's our endeavor. कि every India में कितना भी छोटा market ले लो वो बड़ा ही है. So I think
Yes, so true.
that
We are 140 CR people. I mean, there's no dearth of us, and we are the demographic dividend after all. You know, there is diversity everywhere you go. You know, you go 1 kilometer further and you see just a different kind of culture. This is the beauty of the country, and you know, and brands like you accept that diversity, accept all kind of women out there. That is your strength, I guess.
Yes, yes. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for saying that. Now we have a quick rapid fire for you. So the first question there is going to be, what's one word that you describe how would you describe your journey in one word?
I would say, and I've used this word before, resilient.
Yeah, I think a lot of effort that's gone into getting here, and I think that's the beautiful part, ma'am. I feel कि बहुत बार लोग देख के बोलते हैं कि हाँ आप तो बन गए, but it's not a one day. I'm sure it's not a one day.
Not at all.
Lot of hard work, lot of seeing not so nice days also that's gone into getting here.
Yeah, so ultimately, you know, it's long story short, throughout that onerous journey, where there are numerous ups and downs, one just, you know, one decides to stay resilient, and that's how you know, persevere, that's how you sail through. And I think that is one word that resonates with me personally.
Amazing, amazing. What's one habit that's kept you grounded on those tough days?
I would say recalibration, basically reflection. You know, you pause for a moment and recalibrate whatever you do. That is that habit that has basically humbled me, you know, given me direction, I would say.
Okay, okay, lovely. What's one advice you would give to aspiring students who are preparing for UPSC?
um, just stay consistent, because you know, motivation may falter, it may fluctuate, but it will be the discipline that will stay. You know, so just stay consistent and believe in the best, and it will happen.
Okay, lovely. What is one quality that you value most in a leader?
So I've been in numerous leadership positions, and what I have learned is that a leader should be a balance of you know, empathy and decisiveness, and I think that is the winning key to being a leader.
Okay, amazing. Now, ma'am, if you're okay, we'd just like to take one or two audience questions, please.
Yeah, sure. You may choose the question, please. Yes.
Okay, okay, sure. So Preeti is asking, what is the thing that helped you the most in your UPSC preparation?
I think being really organized, I would say. So, you know, there's a lot of clutter when you're preparing for, you know, an exam like this. There's so much material out there in the market. There are so many voices, too many opinions. So you have to declutter it all. And once you organize it in your head, through your notes, through your timetable, the journey becomes slightly more easier. You know, it becomes, you can tackle each day more gracefully. So that has been, you know, I think that has been my biggest strength, to be able to organize things, you know, declutter it and select the most important.
Okay, amazing. Vanya is asking, what is the toughest part of your job today?
You know, the a job is not like, you know, every day is going to be tough or every day is going to be easy. It's unpredictable. You know, some days are just smooth, and then, you know, something comes up that you have to learn at the moment and you have to improvise. So I would say that it is being able to improvise at the right time, and being able to adapt, and adapt in every way, be it in your workspace, be in decision making, being handling your juniors, or you know, answering to your bosses. The adaptability and the improvisational powers, the sooner you understand, the sooner you become good with it, the better, because that is the toughest part of, I think, any job.
Okay, amazing. Pragya is asking a beautiful question, which is, what is your vision for India?
You know, what we always read in books, that it's a beautiful country, there is unity in the diversity, and you know, my vision for India is, you know, where everyone thrives. You know, individual aspirations thrive, where you know, technology and science progress, and where any kind of ills of society, be it poverty, hunger, they are things of the past. That is my vision for India. Just a Viksit Bharat in 2047 is what we are imagining right now, and we are on the right path, I feel. And I want to see women as equal participants in it, where everybody is empowered, women are empowered, and become the strength of the country. They already are the strength of the country, and I hope as a country we create more and more avenues and mechanism that they feel more empowered also. So I feel all in all that is my vision for this beautiful country.
I love that women are such a big part of that vision, and rightly so should be. Long time that should have happened now. Thank you for answering our audience's questions, and thank you guys. I think you asked some really really amazing questions. So,
Yes.
um, ma'am, when you were 11, 12 years old is when your parents told you about this world of UPSC, how dynamic. Then you went to college, you were building your personality, you were figuring out how you love different forms of art. Eventually, you conquered that dream. You became an IRS officer, and today you're working towards building the new age India, representing the new age civil servant of the country also. There are a lot of things that you know today that the 12-year-old Devyani did not know. So if you could tell her something, and through her, if you could tell all of these young girls who are listening to you today something that would leave them inspired, what would that be?
So definitely from what I was when I was 12 to what I am today, a lot has changed. I have changed through the years, all the experience I've had. I mean, if I could share any piece of, advice to my 12-year-old self, I would probably say that, don't be afraid to take any unconventional paths. I mean, trust me, it'll all make sense one day. And I'd probably tell her to not, shrink yourself into something so that you can fit into any kind of mold or
Mhm.
any kind of preconceived notion. Just grow and become your true self, who you truly are. I mean, this is something that I would want to advise my 12-year-old self.
Amazing. And the beautiful part is कि आपने ये किया है. Because through every aspect you've never been like मुझे ऐसा होना चाहिए, woman officer को ऐसा होना चाहिए, या मुझे ऐसे करना चाहिए. It's always been about I feel this is who I am and this is what I want to do, and you've gone ahead and done that. So congratulations on
Thank
an
you.
inspiring journey, ma'am. And it's been really amazing getting to unpeel those layers with you today. It's just been so amazing interacting with you. You came with so much of grace, so much of humility and groundedness through all of our interactions, and gave our, small little growing platform and opportunity. So truly means so much.
Oh, I also had a lovely time, and I mean, all the questions, be it the audience's question and whatever you have asked, they are so pertinent to, I feel, being a woman, not just being like an officer or anything, just being a woman in today's day and age. They were very poignant questions, and the very, I mean, I feel like anyone can connect to whatever we were talking about today. So, I mean, I had a really great time, chatting with you today, and I hope like everybody else also enjoyed. I'm really glad that people had such nice questions to ask also.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I think everybody was super tuned in. And thank you just for making time despite your vacation. I had such a lovely time talking to you. And thank you to everyone who tuned in as well.
Yes, thank you to all, and thank you, Rare Reach.
Ma'am, pleasure is mine. All right. Wish you a lovely evening, ma'am. I hope you have a very nice, safe vacation. Is there anything you'd like to say as a ending note?
I think whatever conversation we had, I think the one thing that I would say is the moot point, or the end line is just embrace yourself.
Yeah.
Don't let any kind of definitions out there in the society limit you. Just embrace yourself, grow, explore, and achieve whatever you want to achieve.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you for sharing that note. And to everyone who's tuning in, I hope you also find the courage and the power it is within you to be yourself unapologetically. Thank you for leaving us with that note, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a lovely evening. Thanks, everyone who joined. Thank you.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye bye.